Ladies and gentlemen, we're live. We're back with another BuffEm updates. It's Big Dog Chico and my main man, Adam Mustard Tiger, right here, bringing it to you live and direct. Talking about Colorado Buffaloes football this week 7, coming from the bye week, getting ready to head into the Kansas State game with an 8:15 kickoff from Folsom Field. Big Adam, what's going on, man? Talk to me. How you been?
I've been good. It's been too long since we did one of these, so excited to
Exactly.
hop back and get another Buffum updates out there. Yeah, I think the bye week came at a good time. I was telling Brian Howell this earlier today. It's like, especially for the team, you don't just think about those 5 games that they've played. You got to think about the camp grind that they had before that. And so I think just to have a couple days off just for that mental recharge, I think is important. And it seems like this staff has had the right messages since they've come back. It was enjoy that win for a moment, but now it's time to get back to work.
Yeah, I think we all saw what Coach Prime said about hey, we have 4 wins. We had 4 wins also last year at this point. So let's not look at it like we really done something here. We expect more. If you go into something and you put in the work, you expect to get a result from it. So you guys should expect to be at this point. What did you feel about Coach Prime point of view and mindset? By keeping his guys focused.
Yeah, I think well, the thing that helps too, I think, is that a lot of these guys on the team experienced last year, and they don't want to repeat what that felt like, from the second half of that Stanford game on. And so it's not maybe the bulk of the team, but there's enough guys that were part of that. And they've done such a good job of kind of weeding out the me guys versus the guys that are in it for the right reasons. And you're never going to have a locker room that's perfect in that sense, but just everything we hear, the mental makeup of this team is a lot different this year than it was a year ago. And so I just don't anticipate them having this collapse to where, all of a sudden that becomes an issue. I just feel like this team is on a different wavelength than they were a year ago at this time.
Yeah, and if we could talk about last week a little bit with the UCF win and them really coming together in all phases of the game to get that win. Yourself, I saw you had what's my main man name? How did I just forget his name right now? You do the podcast with him.
William Gardner.
William
Yeah.
Gardner. God, I'm sorry. My bad, William. I just looked. I don't know how it just slipped my mind. But you and William went over UCF and just kind of give us, your analysis from that game a little bit.
It was pretty awesome because this is what you were waiting for with this Colorado team, right? Was that performance, and um, was just kind of waiting for it to happen, and for it
Yeah.
to happen in a tough environment. Their plans got shaken up, and I don't know. I guess a lot of these guys on the football team are a lot more accustomed to the humidity than I am. I was sweating like crazy out there, but that was a tough environment. That was as hot a football environment. It was pretty hot at TCU for the first game in 2023. That was maybe right up there. I don't know. That humidity was on a different level. So for them to put that performance together in UCF's building, where for those folks down there, they had Fox Big Noon kickoff there. That was such a big
Yeah.
deal. Their campus was buzzing before the game, and uh, as I tweeted out, that I got to experience why they call it the bounce house. The press box was literally shaking. I had my binoculars up trying to check out some personnel stuff pregame, and I'm having a hard time being able to see because it's shaking so much. But I'll tell you what, that press box didn't shake beyond the first quarter. So they,
Mhm.
they did a good job of going in there and quieting the crowd. And you continue to be impressed with Robert Livingston's defense. And Deion Hayes goes down, and every team says it's next man up, but a lot of teams can't do next man up. Most Colorado teams in the last 20 years couldn't say genuinely we got a next man up, and Colorado does in a lot of spots, and we saw that on the edge in that game, and a lot of guys stepping up. It was crazy, just the number of players coming out of that game that you felt like you needed to give individual praise for because there were so many guys that stepped up to the plate.
Yeah. And you were speaking of the defensive end, Tajay McCoy. I think he had a sack and a half that game, stepping up big for the absence of Deion Hayes. So man, just seeing this defense transform this year from last year, and it's almost like some people are watching and expecting the same results from last year, but you're not realizing. Well, I wouldn't say they're not realizing, but it's kind of hard to unsee what you saw last year, I guess, for some people's eyes. But realizing, or they should realize, that this is a new coaching staff and a new team. Coach Prime pointed out that the returners from last year were Shiloh, Cam, Bentley, and that's about it on the defense. Shane Coates,
Cokes, yep, four
you know,
guys, yep.
and if you count Travis, you know what I mean. So it's a whole different defense, whole different offense, different coordinators. I think you should expect different results with the work that these guys are putting in and the experienced coaching staff that they have. So,
And also, this the coordinators just mesh so much better. Specifically Shermer and Shadur, and then defensively, I said this last week when I was talking with Robert Livingston in the media scrum. I was like, every time we talk to these players about you, their face lights up because
yeah,
guys really enjoy playing football for him. And uh, you know, a lot of defensive coordinators are yellers and screamers, and that seems to be kind of the typical mold. Robert Livingston kind of connects with these guys on a different level, and maybe that's what you need in 2024 to be able to get guys to run through the proverbial brick wall, right? It's
right,
them knowing that you care about them. And it's pretty clear that Robert Livingston, not just, off the field with the relationships he's quickly built at Colorado, but also tailoring his defense to those guys and making it simple and allowing them to play fast, that I think is made for this really quick transition. And so
yeah,
it's not just the personnel that's different. You've got two coordinators that just are such a better fit for this program.
right. I like how you put that, and that's so true. And they knowing that, he's not going to put them in a position to fail. He's there for them. He's actually played the game, and he's coached at a high level that they aspire to be at. So I think that respect is there, knowing that also his demeanor. I'll say this, just from meeting him and his family outside of the first game, it's just that magnetic type feel that he has is almost like, dang, man, you're pretty cool. Like Shiloh said, it doesn't take you very long to realize if a person is cool or not. And that's the
Yeah.
vibe that I got from Coach Rob Livingston. But like I said, also his, I think it was his mom and his dad that was right there. Also, the same type of welcoming type vibe. Hello, I think they came over from South Carolina, so I think I felt that Southern hospitality in their welcoming spirit. So, just that connection that he has with the players, I think it actually shines through on the football field with him, and that scheme that he presents, putting them in the best places and position to be successful. I don't think it's a case where he's out there just trying to force his scheme on the team. He's fitting and understanding who we're playing next week. Okay, we're going to work like this. This is the best way we can do it. This is how we can stop them with the personnel that we have, and I think that's respected from the players also. So if we look
And
forward, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I think George Hilo is another name that
Elo.
quietly joined this coaching staff, and we've heard he's been Livingston's eyes up in the press box, and it sounds like he's done well with some of those second half adjustments. And Livingston called Kevin Mathis their red zone guru, and so he also connects well and works well with these other guys on the defensive staff, and
Yep.
can kind of hand down responsibilities and get that group all working together. So that part of it's been impressive too. But Hilo came on board late, midway through camp, and he's quietly, I think, had a pretty good impact on this program.
Yes, he came over working with the linebackers. Has a lengthy coaching history. I think it was last at Michigan also. But you pointed out something with him being in the box and being his eyes and his ears up there in the box and being able to communicate down on the field, down to the field with Coach Livingston. I think is key because you have to be able to have that direct communication and understand what each other, the language, the lingo, understand that this is passion, not me yelling, and not take things personal, and just to be able to have that, and it flows efficiently. I think that is a huge improvement for this team that people do not see very often, and I'm glad you pointed that out. So let's see here.
It's really hard to see what's going on when you're coaching from field level. Now they have the tablets
I'm
now.
telling
I
you,
think that helps a little bit, but you really got to have somebody you can trust up there if you're going to be a coordinator on the field, because
yes.
you're blocked out of so much stuff, and
even
so
even on the field as a media person, if you're trying to watch the game from the field, it's still a whole different experience when you see, man, let me just go watch this game, as the highlights are shown on TV, or let me watch it from the press box. It's a whole different perspective and view that you have when you're on the field rather than up high.
yeah,
So
no doubt.
let's see here. Talk about some things. Ooh, bless y'all. Now you
Thank you.
now that now that went with the that one pick you went against Colorado, which the fans are not gonna let you get away from either, since you're on here with me. And we had Brian on here. Brian said the chat was brutal to him, but we got through it. The chat is not as brutal today as that's has been a week to simmer down and kind of go away. But not to rehash it, but
I've already
I
I've
can
already
tell
eaten
you.
so much crow. I've already eaten so much crow already.
Well,
I'm
have you
stuffed.
gained some weight? Have you gained some weight?
Well, yeah, I lost about 20 pounds, but it turns out it was all water weight while I was out there in
There you go.
Orlando. It was just all sweat weight. But no,
Yeah.
I heard it. But hey, where was all this overreaction when I picked Colorado to beat Nebraska, and that didn't happen. I didn't hear a whole lot back then. So
Same thing
uh,
Brian said.
okay. You know, there's nobody on this planet that wants Colorado to win more than I do. There might be people that want them to win as much as I do, but
Yeah.
in that media realm, you gotta compartmentalize, and then I get in my car and I go home, and that's when I kind of like, especially after that Baylor game, Chico, I was like, what the hell just happened? And I kind of was able to, throw on some good music and get the good vibes going, because I didn't have to be professional driving home alone after covering the
Right.
game. But no, if I ever pick against Colorado, it's 100% wishing and hoping that I'm going to be wrong with that prediction.
Yeah. All right. Well, that Nebraska game that you picked Colorado to win, Shiloh got hurt that game, but it looks like he'll be back this week after the bye week, to lead this defense once again. Carter Stockmeyer did a great job stepping in for him at that safety spot. How do you see them working together with Shiloh coming back? Do you just see Shiloh coming back playing full on like he did before? Will he have to take some plays off? Will he be fully conditioned? Will they have different packages with all three of them? This just from your perspective, from your view, and the things that you've heard. What do you think?
My guess is that it's going to be Shiloh Sanders and Cam Silman Craig out there as the two safeties in your base defense. And then um, I'm curious to see how this is going to look, because we heard Coach Prime say at his press conference today that they do have packages for Carter Stottmeyer. Is he big enough to be their dime linebacker to kind of fill that role that
Mm.
Trevor Woods was playing, and now Trevor Woods is redshirting, so he's not going to be part of that mix? Or could you maybe put Shiloh Sanders up to be your dime linebacker and have Carter Stottmeyer play that free safety role in those situations? I
That's
don't
what I
know,
do
but
for what
yeah,
it's worth. That's what I do on the video game.
is that I think that seems like a good idea. I think Shiloh would do very well in that role. And if the key and the goal is to get your best 11 on defense
Right.
in third down passing situations for the offense, defensively for Colorado, I think uh, maybe that would be the best situation to put Shiloh a little closer and have Carter on the back end.
Yeah, wouldn't be a bad idea to have all three of them on the field at the same time. All of them have different attributes and things that they bring to the game. So it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Rob Livingston does that, being that, Shiloh always plays at a high level, and Carter played at a high level when coming back. And the Shark, Cameron Simmer Craig, is going to be there doing his thing, whether it's, at the line of scrimmage or way down the field. he's always around the ball, it seems like. So we'll see about those talented safeties. Let's talk about AD, the coolest one in the game. Rick George had a press conference today and gave a lot of updates. What are some things that stood out to you, as we will ask about also the future plans and what he said about Coach Prime being there and them being on the same page also? What are some other things that stood out to you from Coach, I always say Coach, but AD Rick George?
Well, I think given the uncertainty of what the future is going to look like in collegiate athletics, specifically college football, just to hear that Rick George is really set on being proactive with this is what you want to hear. When NIL was introduced, Rick George and his staff put together this really cool branding opportunity for the student athletes of Colorado to get their name out there, to get their, their social media handle out there. But that was not what was drawing NIL money. It was the collectives. And so Colorado was a little bit slow to react to that, and they've been catching up. And that was even something that Rick George admitted today at his press conference. And so they're not going to be kind of catching up in the new realm of college football based on what we've heard from him. And so that's what you want to hear. And there's a lot to be excited about with Colorado football. And Rick George has been kind of leading that cause. He had some bad hires early in his tenure, and the best hire he had in football was Mel Tucker, and he bolted and had his own issues up there at Michigan State. So it's great to see him kind of get the praise that he's always been a super sharp, a very good businessman, and done a good job connecting with the boosters. And so to be able to see him, kind of enjoy seeing Colorado take this national stage under Coach Prime is kind of cool to see.
Yeah, man. Everybody likes Rick George for that move right there, bringing Coach Prime there, but also just his relatability, his personality, his just him being in the mix of things, it seems like. And one thing I saw him do at the end of that UCF game was lead the team in the fight song. And man, it seemed like it was nothing that would make him more prouder than being on that field right there on a road game, leading the team in the fight song. And he also did the end of it too. F him up, go see you. And he hit him with the yeah. And if you know sports, if you know sports, if anybody hit you with the yeah, that's like, yeah, that's the exclamation point, So I was happy to see Rick George do that, man. Shout out to him.
Well, he'll downplay it, but he was actually a good defensive back at Illinois back in the day. He was a player.
Yeah, I heard.
And he was on Bill McCartney's staff at Colorado back in the 90s, and he was famous for he would call recruits on a cell phone back when nobody had cell phones, and it was this massive brick that they would have to carry down to the field, and he'd call recruits and say, "Guess where I'm calling you from?" And so he's always been, a forward thinker, and he knows what it takes to be successful based on his playing career and being in the recruiting department early on. So a lot of ADs don't quite have that experience to really draw on. So Rick George, he knows this deal for sure.
As they'll say in some of the places where I come from, Rick George is a real one.
Yeah.
All right, hey man, the Buffaloes are 4.5 point underdogs against Kansas State. That's the game coming up this Saturday that we kind of previewed, that we have to talk about now and give our preview to. I'll ask you, what do you think about that game with them being 4.5 point underdogs? But they have covered the spread in each of their last 3 games, of course. And if you guys want to read more about this, you guys can go and read it at buffstampede.com right now, buffstampede.com. Adam, tell us, what do you think and how do you think this outcome or this game will play out this Saturday?
Well, if you're trying to get me to pick Kansas State to win so that we can get the chat fired up, it's not going to happen.
Why? Oh man, I told Brian, I said, Brian, maybe you and Adam and everybody else should just go along with it and pick the opposite team this week. No, I swear.
No, Man,
I don't
people are
think
going
it'll
to find
happen.
out where I live. It's going to be a whole thing if that happens. No, like here's the thing: is I needed to see what we saw in Orlando, and there's a bye week, and Kansas State has a bye week as well, and that's a good football team coming to Boulder. But I'm not going to pick against Colorado until they prove that I shouldn't. And I do think this is, if you look at the schedule, and especially when you look at the uncertainty of Utah with Cam Rising and that situation, I mean, this is about as tough as a game you have on the schedule left. When you really look at the fact that Avery Johnson, even though he's kind of been up and down this season, he's a dual threat quarterback. That's been one area maybe the defense has given up a little bit more than they would have liked to through 5 games this season. And so it's going to be a tough matchup. But if you stop that ground game, Kansas State doesn't have much else. They're not much of a threat through the air. If you can keep Avery Johnson contained, then I think I give the edge to Colorado, especially being at home in this game. But I expect this to be a nail biter. I think it's going to come down in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like this. I don't want to say the scariest thing, but that's the main thing I think we really have to bottle up, because that could be the thing that can hurt you the most. I would say that is Avery Johnson sneaking out of the backfield, out of the quarterback pocket, and just slicing up and picking up 10, 12 yards here and there, 10, 12 yards, just to continue to move the chains. What I would say to combat that or go against that would be we need to create turnovers, which means take the ball out of his hands, rattle him, whether it's fumbles, interceptions, same thing we saw last game. And I think some of those mistakes came from the scheme that and I mean last game, the game that they lost versus BYU. And I think that came from the schemes that BYU presented them. Also the crowd noise there. So I think Folsom Field need to make the stands and people in the stands, the fans need to make a concerted effort to be as loud and as crazy as possible Saturday to try to rattle Avery, because we've seen it happen at BYU. Fumbles from the running back. If we can do that, we've seen it one time before. We've seen Bentley go after the ball and get it. If we can be aggressive in that way, which I know we can force turnovers, put the ball back in Shedeur Sanders' hands in the offense, get our running game going. They're not a huge threat to pass, like you said. So same formula from UCF. If we can get up on them early, now they're in a position where they're trailing and they're doing the thing that they don't want to do the most, and that is pass with Avery Johnson. They want to turn around and hand it off to their running back, Dobbins, I think it is. And then also they want to screen and dump the ball off to Dylan Edwards and give him some shots. I know he'll be fired up, but the whole goal is to bottle up this run game, get up in the game, and to force them to play from behind. I think we could definitely do that in Folsom, and that'll get the crowd going and rattle that Kansas State team and lead to a victory for Colorado at home.
How do you feel about Dylan Edwards coming back to Boulder?
Dylan Edwards is always a handful. I love Dylan. Him coming back, I'm glad that they have from a opposing standpoint. I'm glad that they not having him as an every down back, because he could hit a home run at any moment. All right. So if he's going to be the backup, we know the packages that they usually have him in. The turnover came at BYU when they tried to put him in and run a screen to his side, the same side screen. Defensive end was already on that. They schemed for it. He dropped off. Pick went right to the defensive end. So I think that if we can look at all the plays that they've had for Dylan in the past and be ready for those and make sure we bottle him up and not give up big plays to him, because he's the explosive player on that team. Now, the running back, Dobbins, he can run it, but I think it's kind of like fitting the mold for our team, just like UCF quarterback was. I think he's fit to where we can hit him and bottle him up and keep him from running all over us. We haven't allowed that 100-yard rusher yet. I don't think we'll do it this game. No big plays for Dylan, and we should, have a big victory.
Yeah, that would be a statement victory for Colorado. And I mean, even if Kansas State wins on Saturday, it's a statement win for them. This is
Clearly two of the upper echelon teams. I feel like in the Big 12 this season, and I think whoever wins at Folsom Field on Saturday is going to have a strong case to make that they should be right up there. We'll see what Iowa State does this weekend, but right up there, amongst the leaders in this conference.
Because Iowa State, surprising some people as 5-0. Same thing with BYU. Texas Tech 5-1, but still 3-0 in the conference. So
I'm not buying Texas Tech yet.
not buying Texas Tech yet. Okay.
That was an interesting game watching those two go head to head, because Texas Tech and Arizona are two teams that for a 5-minute stretch can look like the best team in the conference, and for a 5-minute stretch can look like the worst team in the conference. They're very Jekyll and Hyde teams, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Utah you got to throw in there as well. I'm not putting Tech or Arizona quite up there yet.
Me personally, I said this at the beginning of the season. I think in college football as a whole, especially at the top, we're going to see those teams take some falls. We'll probably see the top 10 be totally different than before, with the top 3 teams having probably 1, even possibly 2 losses by the end of the season. But I just think that'll be way more parity in college football. Big 12 is a lot better than a lot of other people may think. And Colorado has a chance to, I think, still be at that top, because everybody's going to be eating each other, beating each other, and beating up on each other. And Colorado, I think, has the depth that a lot of people don't see right now. They'll continue to see as the season goes on. But this statement win versus Kansas State at home, like you said, I think is going to happen. I think it's just going to be one of those games where it's an even matchup. Turnovers would be the difference. The home crowd would be the difference. And we have a guy named Shedeur Sanders at the quarterback position. So, when that Shedeur magic has to come out and happen, it will pop out and show him at any point in time during the ball game. Couple other topics we need to go over before we get up out of here. Make sure you guys follow Adam online. Let him know where they can follow you, Adam.
Head to buffstampede.com or on X at AdamCM777.
There you go, buffstampede.com. Also, you can follow me on all platforms, Big Dog Chico. Go to the Wildcats. As you mentioned, I'll be at that game in Arizona, Tucson to be exact. They have some wins, of course, but like you said, they're up and down. And that game is going to be on Fox also, another televised game for the Buffs. What is that, 7 in a row?
7, yep.
7 games in a row for Colorado. Never been done before, I'm sure, right?
If they win on Saturday, I mean, you're starting to think maybe this is 12 games in a row. Is there something contractually where they have to be on ESPN Plus once? I know back when they were in the Pac-12, you had to be on the Pac-12 network a couple times. I don't know if they have that with ESPN.
Yeah, I don't know, but I know this. They have common sense, or they should have common sense. And they're saying if we want to be playing the games that's going to get the ratings, then we need to have – if Colorado's playing, why are we not showing them? Why are we letting a guy named Big Dog Chico call the game on YouTube and have 60,000 viewers? That's crazy. We need to put the game on. So I think that's what's going on, man. They seeing that everybody's going to watch Colorado. Why not show them?
I haven't got a chance to tune into one of your live in-game videos. Do you throw things? Do you get angry, or are you pretty calm and collected during those? I need to go back and watch some of them.
Dang, man. Calm and collected will not describe it, I don't think, but I'm trying not to throw things. I haven't thrown things much this year. It's been more of just yelling and celebrating touchdowns this year and sacks and stuff. So yeah, that's all. Just a fun time we have on Saturdays, which we'll have this Saturday, because I won't travel to the game. Big college football weekend coming up. A bunch of games will be on, but I'll be tuned in for the game, calling it. And that way, for the people who are not able to, watch the game, or I have some people on the chat that say they watch the game and just listen to my commentary. So I appreciate that.
That's cool.
So
yeah.
However way they consume it, I appreciate it. And I just want to be able to have another outlet to get the Colorado Buffs, live reactions and content as the game is going on. All right. Anything else before we just get up out of here, Adam? Anything you want to talk about, get into?
We're going to get a chance to talk to Vincent Dancy tomorrow, so that should be good.
One
His
of my
group
favorite
is showing a lot of development, and so maybe we'll get an update on Deion Hayes, see how he's doing coming off the bye week tomorrow. But yeah, it's good to be back in game week mode.
And I'm glad we have another bye week. That's pretty rare, and I know everybody does this year. I think college football, they should do this every year because I think everybody just needs kind of a couple of breathers in there. But it's good to be back in the mix, and it will be good to be back out of Folsom on Saturday.
Well, one other guy we saw today, or we saw this week, was Hayes, Hayden, Dalen Hayden, and Dalen Hayden. He's coming back from that high ankle sprain injury after a good game at UCF. I talked about how hard he runs. Also, Isaiah Augustov, how hard he's running. Also, Micah Welch really showing up as a freshman. Talk about that running back room, man. What you expect to see from them versus the Wildcats?
Well, we'll see what Michael Welch's situation is. We saw him kind of deal with what looked like a hamstring injury in that game out at UCF. So hopefully he's back in the mix. But clearly this staff has a lot of trust in Dallin Hayden. He's been kind of, you mentioned he had dealt with the ankle injury, but he had kind of right before that kind of established him as the top back and showed some nice burst on that touchdown run, coming back from it. But I'm a big fan of Isaiah Augustov, and as long as he doesn't put the ball on the ground and is adequate in pass protection, that's a back I feel like you give the ball to 15, 18 times and get over 100 yards from him. It took 2 carries for him in the UCF game in the second half to go for 40 yards, and already at that point in the second half be tied as the game's leading rusher. So I want to see more of him. Just personally, I really am a fan of his downhill running style.
Yeah, I like it too. I think he's also running with a sense of urgency after giving up that fumble that he did have. He's running with a purpose also, and wanting to be on the field a lot more. I heard him say in practice from the well-off clips that, he's running that hard because he wants to be on the field more. He wants more carries. And that's how you get, more opportunities by running just like that, falling forward always. So I like to see that, man. We got some good, talented running backs on this team. Offensive line showing up once again. Any update on Khalil Benson's injury, and will he be back this week?
We haven't got an update there either. So waiting on him, Michael Welch, and then I think Deion Hayes is the other big one. Obviously, with Shiloh being back in the mix. Am I forgetting anybody in there? Those are kind of the main ones.
We see Chidozi's back.
He's back. Yep.
So yeah, those are about the main ones right now. Any questions in the chat, y'all can let us know. But get ready, man. We will have more updates coming for you guys. We just want to make sure we get back after this bye week and let you guys know that yes, we're here. Y'all asking about myself and Adam. Y'all want to see these nice looking faces on your camera. Well, there you go. We're here for you. Adam, thank you for joining me once again, man. We're going to continue to do this. Appreciate everybody out there. Y'all make sure y'all hit the like, subscribe, comment, and everything else right now. Y'all know what to do, man. It's been BuffEm Updates. Big Dog Chico, Adam Mustard Tiger. We're going to be up and about this same piece in the Middle East. Yeah. BuffEm Updates. BuffEm Updates.